ladies and gentlemen.
To the theory of buns and snickles.
Oh.
Oh, man.
So, first topic.
We've changed our room. Just kidding. Sorry to cut you off, buddy.
What are you talking about?
We changed the studio. It's a different setting.
Where?
It's a different
We turned the entire
what the
room,
fuck
Dylan.
do you mean? We're not
No, we
even
didn't.
looking at the same wall.
Dylan, shut up. I'm going to hit you. Sorry to cut you off, buddy.
Alright, so I had this idea today of the fireflies in the future. So I read an article on Facebook about it kind of plays into a little bit about dinosaurs and stuff. Like,
Dinosaurs aren't real.
well, see, and that was what the fireflies of the future is. It's like, I saw this post on Facebook, and it basically was talking about how bioluminescent creatures like fireflies or whatever are starting to go extinct because of the light pollution in the sky. So it was an adaptation that they had made to survive in the dark, basically. And now they could be going extinct because of how much light is on the planet at night, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I had this funny thought whenever I was reading it, and I was like, man, what if in 1,000 years from now, somebody was like, did you know there used to be a bug that would light its ass up? Like, its butt would straight just freaking glow.
You would not believe that if you fucking never
for
were
real.
around it.
You would never
No
even
fucking
think
way.
that was a real thing.
No, there's probably a lot of things like that.
Yeah. And then I
Shit
started
like that
thinking,
now.
so
That's what I'm
what in the past got, like, altered? And, like, so the theory of, like, dinosaur skin, like...
Yeah, like they have no idea. Have you seen a beaver's skeleton?
No fucking clue.
It looks like a little rat tail. Like you have no idea where the feathers were, where the fat was, where the cartilage was. Like all that dissipates, like with time. That was really funny. You almost like inhaled that blueberry.
I was trying to, but I couldn't get it. It was a big blueberry.
No, but like we have no idea how their bodies were oriented. Like, so I think that's wild and that's fun to think about.
It is, and I also, so this kind of started on my little trail that I went on in my head, and I started thinking, like, we had talked about the Civil War, like the Civil War that could happen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it also made me think, like, if something like that were to happen, which hopefully that doesn't ever happen again, like, I hope we all learned our lesson from the last time, but what in a couple hundred years from now, or even 1,000 years from now, would they say that actual Civil War was about? Because, like, we're in it. And if you talk to everybody has a different opinion on why it's going to go into a civil war.
There could be a whole underlying, like, reason why the last one started. And it was just covered up through time.
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you know how inaccurate history is already? And,
Oh,
like,
for
what
sure.
we grew up with?
And,
like, so...
You can talk to anybody, like...
And those people were at least decently logical.
But also,
back then,
like...
compared to people now.
And this is quoting Joe Rogan, like... The country started in 1776. That's, like, 250 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's, like, people lived to be 90. That's 3 people. 3 people ago.
Yeah.
Like, quote from Joe Rogan Experience Podcast. Like, 3 people ago. He's got a damn good point. Like, a lot of stuff's gotten messed up in 3 people ago,
Yeah,
you know? Like,
for sure. 3 people ago is kind of funny to think about. But, like, nobody here now was ever in the Civil War. Like, nobody walking this
the last
planet.
guy just... Or no, not the last guy.
Didn't he just die?
No, that was the
year?
World War
That was
One guy or something?
Wait
World
up.
War II
I'm
guy.
pretty
Somebody-
sure he's died within like the
World
last,
War II was
I would
the
say,
last
good
one.
5 years.
We
Within
always
the
do
last
this.
5
We
years.
just argue for...
Yeah.
Like, we talk about it for 5 minutes and we're like, oh yeah, must be...
Because there's still World War...
2 guys, yeah.
Yeah. 2.
My grandpa was alive during... He wasn't enlisted or anything, but he was a young guy. But
Yeah, I really don't think that anybody is still alive from the Civil War because the Civil War ended in 1865.
yeah,
So,
wow.
yeah.
So look up
we're fucking retarded.
Oh, yeah.
We were fucking dumb.
He would have had to have been 155 years old.
But
That
I'm
would have
pretty
been
sure
a great world record. He would have topped the last dude by a few decades. You know what I mean?
I think we got fucked up. I'm pretty sure we seen the same article about something with the last dude from the Civil War, though.
I think it was. No, I think it was.
It was World War II. I'm pretty sure.
No, I think
No, it was
World
something
War
about
I.
the Civil War. Anywho, fun fact: my mom showed me a couple months ago a picture of my great grandfather, whichever one it is, and I didn't know he fought for the Union during the Civil War. And it was a picture of him in his suit, and then like he had like
See, 3
9
people ago.
kids, 9 fucking kids.
They had to.
It's insane.
If you wanted like 3 of them to live, you had to.
I have an interesting story to say about that. So me and Dylan were at a bar one night and we were out dancing.
With each other?
Yeah.
I'm scared where
Yeah,
this is
we were
going.
dancing with each other. Well, we're sitting in the back of the bar, and Dylan looks up at this painting, and he goes, "Dude, that's my uncle." And I was like, "Are you freaking serious?" At the map. He's like, "Dude, yeah, that's my uncle." And then we looked at the name and sure as shit, it was Bernal. He was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm pretty sure that's my great uncle."
Oh yeah, the Magnificent Seven. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, "That's my great uncle."
Really?
Legitimately.
Yeah, he played in
He was an actor?
the original Magnificent Seven. My dad's uncle, or something like that.
That's
or
legit.
something like that.
So we're sitting
as
there,
one of them.
and Dylan's telling us basically this, and some fucking douchebags come up to us, and they're like see us admiring the painting, and they're like, "These fucking guys, like."
They're talking shit about the
Yeah,
painting.
they were straight fucking.
So this was
talking
after,
mad shit about the painting, and Dylan starts getting heated, like heated. He was like, "I don't even want to fucking talk to these guys because I feel like I'm just gonna punch them in the face."
This was after the the annual Tucson rodeo. Which one is it? Something Fiesta.
Yeah.
Dos Vaqueros, whatever. And so all those rodeo fucking cowboys came over there and everything.
Yeah.
And they just fucking, I don't know why they were talking shit about a painting, but they were just like, look at the way he's, like, they were like judging a fucking painting from a fucking movie. They were judging how, like, what they were, not even what they were wearing, just like their stance
Like
on
the
the
cowboy
saddle.
shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, first of all,
It's a painting, first off. Like, you don't think that they're gonna get it exactly to the T.
yeah. I don't know, they did pretty good.
Yeah. Pretty funny story.
Definitely had nothing on my great uncle those, because those dudes literally traveled from Mexico to Arizona to California to break and trade horses. So, suck my cock.
Yeah.
So if you're watching this and you were in
Yeah,
that
if you ever
town-
find this,
Yeah.
dick.
Yeah. Just know we think you're an asshole. So I always have like some of the craziest thoughts, like the fireflies in the future type thing, at night, like before bed, because my brain seems to run like
Everywhere.
wild whenever I'm getting
Oh,
ready
dude,
to go to sleep.
like I told you, I put shit in my notes all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid. It's irritating. I started taking melatonin.
Yeah. Melatonin didn't even touch it for me. Like,
I have to take, like, double what it tells you to.
I took like 4 pills one night and I didn't pass out until like 4 o'clock in the morning. And then whenever I did pass out, like I flat didn't wake up. I was just knocked out cold.
So it says on there, like, basically how I broke it down was like every 100 pounds you take a pill. And I'm like 230, so I was like, oh, I'll take 2. You know, I won't round up. I don't want to like sleep for 14 days.
2 and then cut one.
Yeah. No. But I took 2, and I just set a new deadlift PR, which at the time wasn't anything crazy because I just started lifting. But it was 4 plates, so 405. I repped it for 3, and I was like, so I was pretty tired. You know, my body was tired. That was when I was bulking.
Yeah.
You know, my body was tired. I was like, you know what? I haven't been sleeping well. I'm gonna take some melatonin. Took 2 melatonin. Had sleep paralysis for 8 fucking hours.
Like
Full on sleep paralysis in my fraternity house,
that.
laying there. Body is sore and tired. I'm uncomfortable, and I can hear people talking about me and how I've been asleep for so long. Because I was gonna take a nap. I was gonna take a little 6-hour nap before intramurals.
Oh, this
And
wasn't even like going to bed at night. This was a nap.
No. Well, I mean, it was going to be long enough to be considered sleep for me at that point, because when I was like in school, like pre-COVID, I would sleep probably 3 hours a night because I was studying and I had a whole bunch of crap to do during the day. So I was like, I'm going to sleep, until because intramurals were like at like 7 or 8 at night, and this was like this might have been like 2 or 3. So I'm like, I'm gonna go to sleep. Went to sleep, sleep paralysis, slept through the intramurals, slept through everything, and finally someone knocked on my door, and that pulled me out of it. Like I heard them talking about me in front of my door for hours, and I could not move.
So
I hated it.
sleep paralysis is a really funny
And I had
thing.
bad gas.
I never had sleep paralysis until I had like my first legit anxiety attack. Then I got
Dude, that might be
bad
connected.
sleep paralysis. And what I started doing, like being with Leah, was I would be able to call Leah's name
I remember you telling me about that.
when I would get into those positions. Because like a lot of the sleep paralysis I would get into would be like a reoccurring thing. And it would be something that was happening. So, weird story, but one night I was sleeping on the couch, watching TV, and then I didn't realize I was asleep until I rolled over and I had my fan on the floor, and in my sleep I thought that I rolled over and was just constantly rolling in the fan cord or whatever. And the cord was like wrapping itself around my neck, and I couldn't get back up on the couch, and it kept wrapping itself around my neck every time I rolled over to like try to get back on the couch, and it would start like cinching up my whole body. So like I'm still rolling and rolling and rolling, like I was going downhill as I was trying to get back up on the couch, and finally I was just like, okay, have to be sleeping, like this can't be real. But the movie was still playing that I was watching. Like I think it was just my subconscious hearing it, and I know it very, very well, so like I was able to play it in my head at the exact same time that the movie's rolling. But it was just one of the trippiest situations I'd ever been in. And then I started screaming. I was like, Leah, you have to get this fan off my neck, like you've got to wake up and come get me. Like I was yelling in my dream, and I just started shouting her name, and then out of nowhere, like she comes over to me and she's like, Kyron, are you okay? And like touched me, and I was like, oh, thank God. Like, I was still passed. I was just knocked out of the couch. I was like, oh, like, I'm so glad you came. You have no idea. And in my head at the time, I was like, dude, the telepathy is there. But then she was like, you kept yelling Leah, and I was so confused.
Or like when there's like, you're like cuddling somebody and their arm is like somewhere probably like, I don't know if it was me or somebody else, and they had it on my neck. It was either on my neck or their neck, and they fucking like freaked out. No, it was me. That's why I remember. I'm an idiot. And the way we were sleeping, like I'm pretty sure it was their arm. And in my dream, I was like getting choked. And I woke up and I was like, get the fucking arm off me.
Dude, I get twitchy as hell sometimes. Like, I'll be like, if I fall asleep, I can't fall asleep with the TV on because it'll like stimulate my brain while I'm like, trying to sleep. And if I'm like cuddling with someone, I just like flinch and it scares the fuck out of him.
I do that too.
And she's just like, she'll just be like, are you okay? She's like, that's like the 8th time you flinched like really hard. And I was like, my brain won't go to sleep, but I'm really tired. She's like, are you gonna like punch me in the middle of the night? I was like, no, I'm not gonna fucking punch you unless you're like trying to choke me.
I've heard of people, I know some people who have really, really bad sleep paralysis, and they legitimately like get up and start sleepwalking from it. Like, I know a guy.
Is that what sleepwalking is?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a correlation between the two, but the sleepwalking thing was super interesting because he has already told us, and it's already like documented in his portfolio for the hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
And he has really bad sleep paralysis, but randomly he's a pretty old guy. Like, he's an older dude.
Oh, really?
And he like started rolling over and like legitimately running, and he'd run into the wall and just boom, hit the wall.
Would that wake him up?
No, it
It's
didn't
like that
wake
fucking
him up.
dog.
Yeah, it was. That's exactly what I pictured whenever he told me the story. I was like, what the hell? That's some insane stuff, you know?
Dude, sleep paralysis is fucking terrifying, especially when you have like the mind of like
First time
demons and everything. Like, That's why I didn't know what sleep paralysis was, and I had sleep paralysis, and I thought there was like a demon sitting on me and everything. That was so fucking terrifying. And then I found out what sleep paralysis was. I was like, oh, cool. Like, not being haunted.
I woke up one morning. Well, woke up in quotations, but and I thought I had a snake wrapped around me. Like it legit ass felt like I had a snake completely wrapped around me, and I didn't move for an hour. Because I remember my mom knocking on my door multiple times, but it was like a weekend after a football game, so she wouldn't wake me up because she knew I was like just gonna keep sleeping. But I was just laying there, and I was like, if I move, this snake's gonna kill me. Mm-hmm. And it was like freshman year, so I was like 14, so I was like freaking out, and I was like, this snake's gonna absolutely kill me. I felt it over my entire body, like not entire, but like I felt pressure points, and I was like, there's a damn snake in my bed.
When you woke up, was there any, like, were you laying next to anything that, like, putting pressure that made you think that?
I think maybe, like, my blanket or something. Maybe, I think I might have had, like, spandex shorts on. That might have been it, but I don't know. This was...
tight spandex.
You know, I'm pretty thick.
Yuck.
Anyway.
Oh, so check out this article on sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis...
On Wikipedia, if you're curious.
Yeah, this is Wikipedia, so...
100% facts.
It's on
There's
the internet,
fact
so
checks
it's got to be true, right? Yeah. But this is what Wikipedia was saying about it. This is a state during waking up or falling asleep, which a person is aware but unable to move or speak. During an episode, one may hallucinate, hear, feel, see things there, not there, which often results in fear. Episodes generally last less than a couple minutes. It may occur as a single episode or be recurrent. The condition may occur to those who are otherwise healthy or those with narcolepsy, or it may run in families as a result of genetic changes. The condition can be triggered by sleep deprivation, psychological stress, or abnormal sleep cycles. The underlying mechanism is believed to involve a dysfunction in the REM sleep.
So, like, how deep your brain goes, I guess, into the REM cycle.
And that's what lucid dreaming is. It's basically trying to...
There's a way to fall into that, right?
Yeah, it's basically sleep paralysis is pursued by lucid dreamers as a method of having a lucid dream. Because you're so psychologically aware when you're in sleep paralysis that's just...
That's wild.
Ties together.
My breadcrumbs of the brain idea, this is going to be part of my book too. So it kind of, I've talked about before, like how physical science can help you understand like your emotional thought process and stuff. So basically what breadcrumbs of the brain is like, it's kind of built off the saying, you know how they say the brain is the only organ that named itself?
Yeah.
So I think that kind of ties into the whole like, we can only unlock 20% of our brain, but I think
that's bullshit.
I think the way can you look that up too, like how they measure percentage of brain usage, and I think it's off of electrical signal.
Yeah, that's electrical.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so I think there's just like different levels of brain activity, and this is coming off of a guy who knows absolutely nothing about neuro.
I have been in neuroscience for 27
but this is
plus years.
This is like the psychological part of it. It's like, so I think there's parts of our brain that like run other like parts that we don't consciously use, like that movie Lucy, I think it's called, with Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, she unlocks.
Like you're not gonna be able to like move shit with
or
your
Limitless.
Brain. Limitless is possible. I mean, it's a chemical compound, but like, I honest to God, I don't think it's gonna be. Is that measured off of?
Well, it measures
EEGs?
the brain waves, which is used with detectors and electrodes. So, I mean, if you're using an electrode, you're picking up some type of either magnetic or electrical pulse.
Then you got to think like, is that taking into account like the chemical reactions that happen in our brain?
I think so, because your brain has to, like the synapses in your brain, how everything connects, is transferred, and it's basically like electricity, and that's how you can fry your brain from like a static shock.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, our bodies are very well grounded, and it would take a good amount to do that. But
That's what you're saying. But what I'm kind of trying to lean into is like your brain leaves little breadcrumbs for your conscious your conscious self to find. So, like, because you don't have to tell your heart to beat or your lungs to intake and output. So it's like, I think there's parts of our brain that function on a psychological and emotional level that like we don't have control. Because if someone asked you, do you have control of your brain? 90% of the population is going to be like, yeah, I have control of my brain. Like, how else would I do it? But it's like,
I don't know that I actually have
but,
control of my brain.
But like, what my point is that like there's, and they've already probably looked into this, but I'm just trying to say that there's a good probability that there's a lot of shit that goes on inside your head that like nobody knows. Like now nobody knows.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. I mean, it's probably one of the most complex things on the face of the planet.
I bet you from like an outside being, I bet you it's not though, because it's like it's something that you can measure and like study. But for us to study it, it's like if I bit down on my own finger, I can't do it. Yeah. But it only takes like the force of like a carrot.
To be fair, so we've only unlocked or used 20% of our brain.
We only use 20% of our brain.
So then we literally have no idea what that other 80% does. Because if human beings themselves, even doctors, I'm sure.
But it's again of how you're going to measure that statistic. It's not technically.
But still.
Yeah.
Can you fucking imagine? I always think about this because I want to I firmly believe that one of the greatest things that your brain can do, and I don't know if it's within that 20% or past the 20%, is heal itself. But I'm not talking about like getting cut and then like automatically healing. But I seriously believe that your brain, if you can convince yourself, like if I say that color,
you can brainwash stuff.
Yeah, you can brainwash yourself. So if I say that's purple. Yeah, that's purple. That's a purple shirt. That's a purple shirt. If I focus on it and think about it long enough, I can convince. Like I will see purple, right? Yeah. I believe that people can, if someone out there might do it or has done it, maybe I don't know, convince themselves. I'm talking at a mental health standpoint. And cure their depression. I truly believe that.
Well, that plays into like the holistic medicine type of thing. So like there's people, you can physically get sick from your way of thinking. Like it's already been proven. Like you can make yourself sick from the way you think. You know what I mean? So
people can kill themselves by the way they think.
Yeah, and there's also the opposite direction where people can actually heal themselves or heal parts of their body. Not necessarily, I don't know if it's 100% healed, and I know some of it is kind of like a miraculous type deal, but that's more along the lines of just because it hasn't been explained yet. Yeah. And nobody's able to, we're not on that level yet to be able to explain it. But I think that your brain thinking about something or doing specific things can heal your body. It's like the idea of, so in holistic medicine, Leah was telling me about this. There's a way you rub your back to relieve, so you go like counterclockwise, rubbing somebody's back, and it helps put them to sleep, and counterclockwise helps wake them up. It helps
clockwise puts them to sleep, counterclockwise wakes them up.
Yeah, something like that. It's super weird, which I was kind of wondering if on the other side of the equator, if it was backwards, like it has something to do with where you're on.
Well, that's also like the wives' tale of like rubbing your belly, like laying on your left side, rubbing your belly. Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth in holistic medicine, like things from another person's touch could heal, and that's another thing. Is like human beings, our brains are powerful enough to. And I truly think if you unlocked 100% of your brain, you could straight up heal somebody just by touching them.
But what I'm trying to say with the whole percentage of brain usage is that how did they measure that? Because if they just took the entire area of the brain that they know can take an electrical current and divided it by what they can see like as electrical current, like is actually being used, and they just divided that by like input versus output, and then that they got an efficiency from it. But then also, like, I don't know if it's true because I saw it, I think on like Grey's Anatomy or something, but like they were like messing with like they were stimulating certain parts of the brain during brain surgery, and they like keep people awake during brain surgery, and there will be people that like start talking different, like speaking different languages. Like, can you look that up? Like during brain surgery, the stimulation.
I wonder if that's
like,
real.
Yeah, I saw it on a show.
Well,
But like, see,
maybe.
and then maybe that's how those, like, that's how those like thought processes came up, where they're like, oh, we can do so much more. But it's like, if we're just taking what can be like what we can induce current with, and what actually is used with current. I don't think that's the correct statistic, but I also don't know how they did it because I didn't research that before we came on.
But think about it. Think of like in the movie Limitless, whenever he said, "Oh, I remembered this book that I seen several years ago." So maybe they just, I don't know if that actually can happen or if that's real.
Yeah.
But it would make sense if they touched something in their brain that made them remember like a movie or places they were at, like in a foreign country, and just remembered people speaking that language.
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure. Because then you could definitely, because I know I do that a little bit, where like I just like associate things really well.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I'm like, that's why I say like I can understand most languages, but it's not the actual words and language that I understand. It's like the fact that like they'll say something that sounds like this, and I know this about that, and then I just like associate really well. And also I've noticed that I have like a semi-photographic memory, and so it's like, but those things can be learned.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, did you find anything?
No.
Okay, we'll have to do
Oh
some
God,
more
like
research.
Reed
Dig
off
into
of
it.
Criminal Minds. Oh,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that dude.
That'd be so fucking cool, dude. To just never forget anything and remember it.
It's also a curse, to be honest.
Isn't it Limitless that the dude does that? He grows the
What?
That's insane. He gets like a photographic memory, and then he reads books in like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And then understands
'cause he's-
everything in the book.
There's a
just-
show about that, right? Right? I think there's a Limitless show, and it has Bradley Cooper in it.
is-
What? No.
Like, yeah, like he just makes like cameos. Like he's not the main character.
Really? I
It's
didn't
the
know that.
same timeline and same pill and same brand.
No shit, I didn't know this.
And my buddy was watching it. I think it's on
Oh.
Netflix.
I want to watch it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a
me too.
show. I've heard it's pretty good. I watched like a season or two, and it's really captivating.
What?
That sounds
It's just cool to like watch, just like Lucy and like all those like
Yeah.
the one with Morgan Freeman. Was that Lucy?
That was Lucy.
Okay.
Yeah. To be able to function with that level of brain capacity, and I see what you're saying. You're basically saying like we can't measure the chemical balance in your brain and the different where your thought processes are, or like all of the inner side of it. You're only looking at even the physical, but I mean obviously the physical comes from some type of mental that allows that to happen.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's super complicating, and like I don't know that human beings could ever really unlock all of your brain. I think it would have to be.
I think there's a reason we don't.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the same. It's the same concept of like the
with-
finger thing. Yeah.
I had a theory when
It's
I
like-
Wait, what finger thing?
If like to actually break through the skin and your and your bone and your tendons, it only takes the biting force of you biting into a carrot to actually break through all those different layers.
And sheer will and
But the thing that stops you is your brain.
Yeah.
Your brain's like, we kind of need that.
Yeah.
So, it
Oh wow!
What's up?
I was looking at the human bite force.
What is-
70 pounds per square inch. That's a pretty good amount.
yeah. Bears are in like the hundreds.
Grizzly bear.
70 pounds per. That's pretty solid, dude.
Yeah.
And that's average.
Average. So I mean, you could probably hit 100 pretty easily.
And it definitely takes less of that, because there's really not. And the thing is 70 pounds on like half of an inch is multiplied.
I have an interesting question.
Because you take the
How
surface
much
area of
pressure-
your finger, that's
How much
about
pressure
on a
to
half
break
inch.
a bone?
your a phalange bone, finger bone.
Ever seen Jack Reacher?
Yeah.
Whenever the bad guy comes in, he's like, I want you to bite off your fingers.
Damn. It takes 4,000 newtons of force to break a human femur. Damn. For smaller bones, a pressure of 25 pounds may be enough to break them.
Newtons are a lot like larger unit per scale than like
I was gonna
pounds
ask for
per
the
force.
Yeah.
So
for the average Joe over here, I didn't really know it.
so newtons is kilograms per meters squared, and then pound force is pounds per feet squared. So you have to convert. So it's going to be 9.8 over. I think you just multiply by 30.
Pi.
No.
Yeah.
Don't look that up on the internet. That's super confusing.
How much is it? No, just put newtons to lbs. And that's like a pound force.
Yeah, if you try to understand what a newton is off of the internet, you're going to have to do a lot of research.
It's a kilogram meter per second. Pound force.
Let's see what we got here.
So you
What
divide. You
is-
divide by 4.
Yeah.
It's 0.224. So you divide by 4.
Okay.
So 1,000 pounds.
Yeah. And 25 pounds to break your finger. About 25 pounds of force to break your finger.
Right. A newton is a kilogram per meter second.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I had
Sure.
an interesting theory though on this. Now that we're talking about brains and the percentage of your brain used.
Right.
So whenever I was a kid, obviously growing up in the church, you learn a lot about heaven and hell and the difference between them, or whatever that type of thing is. And I had this epiphany after I'd learned about, and I believed it for a long time. After I learned that we only use about 10% of our brain, I was like, what if heaven is the full unlock? Like, that's the chapter where you unlock your brain. Because if you think about it, like DMT, when you die, you release DMT, right?
What's that?
And that's DMT is dithromethyl, just whatever.
That's a chemical.
Yeah, it's a chemical that's released, and that's what a lot of people, like even Joe Rogan has a podcast on DMT. It's a lot of people do it, and it's a drug that only lasts like.
Have you tried DMT?
It's only like, what did they say? It was like 15 seconds, 20 seconds that you actually get a high from DMT, but it's like 20 seconds feels like hours whenever you do it. So I was like, okay, so what if when you release DMT, that's your spirit basically unlocking the rest of your brain, and that 15 seconds is where your transition occurs, where your brain goes to the full unlock mode, and then you kind of think into the whole like Lucy thing, and it's like boom, then you're almost like an omnipresent type of being, like where that's the full unlock. And like none of us would ever know unless you died, because it takes that specific spot or whatever it is when it's released through your whole body, like that's basically the changeover to go into 100%. And then to finish this story out, I had a conversation with this guy. His name was Didi. He had a very interesting perspective. We got on a really long talk one night, and he was telling me, because like he asked me what I believe or whatever, and like we had a long talk about it, and what we were talking about and what he brought up was like, he said, when you die, you go to whatever your brain feels like that you have convinced yourself that you should go. So he's like, I have convinced myself that I'll go obviously back to my home world, or Didi's, Didi land.
Do you know Didi?
I've heard the name, and I think I've met him.
Oh, you've never
really
experienced
interesting dude
Didi.
to talk to.
I don't think so.
He's intense, but he was like, you go to wherever your brain has convinced you to go, and the people that you love and you care
Oh
about
no, yeah, I have.
will be there, but they themselves are not actually there because their version has to have you in it as well to be able to function in the two. You know what I mean? So basically, your conception is like when you die and that full unlock occurs, because I had brought up that theory. It's like, he was like, so basically I'm along the same lines, and he said that we differed in some spots, but he didn't ever go into it. He was just like, when that happens and you hit that full 100% and you max out, basically, you create your own afterlife out of that. And that was like what was given to us by the creator of everything. And one of his theories was that the creator is already gone and has lived out its life expectancy. So we, in turn, basically just become our own gods. So kind of following along the lines of Mormonism. But
I was gonna. I didn't want to say it.
Like that, like that movie quote from like Spy Kids. He's all, "Do you think God has like forbidden us, or God doesn't come back because he fears for what he's created?" That was a movie line from Spy Kids. From, was it like Buscemi?
It was
whatever.
2. Yeah, the guy who creates the whole zoo animals and stuff. He says that at the end. Yeah. And I thought about that too. I was like, man, that's like a really intense line.
Say the line again.
It's like, do you think that God has left us because he lives, or he's fearful for what he created?
No, absolutely not.
I think that God has created us. I honestly think that God has created us to keep him company. And
He just has something to watch.
somewhere along the lines of that. And see, that whole version, like after we die or whatever, is super shaky to me.
Yeah.
Like, for sure. No matter what, my ultimate, all-time, everything I even live for is just so that for the fact that whenever I die, I just want to meet the dude. Like, if I could be like,
Shake his hand.
yeah, like you go to wherever you go to meet him, and I would really highly doubt that everybody would just show up in heaven and be like, get to see God in all of his glory and everything that he had created for himself, and then you'd be like, hey, this is the man who made everything. Like, and just think of like how awestruck you would be to meet somebody that is that powerful. You know what I mean?
So I will admit, I've never been suicidal in the fact of where I'm like, I don't want to live here anymore. My life is just terrible. I've always been like, I can fix it. Like, it's going to take time and it's going to suck, but I can fix it. But I have thought about, like, I've just been curious.
Yeah,
like,
me
what
too.
in the hell is on the other side? Like, I could.
Me too.
I have the right to kill myself right now and figure out what's on the other side.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I got a lot of shit to do here, you know?
Yeah.
I got.
Technically, you don't have a right.
How do I not have that right?
Because you're God's creation. I feel like that's against everything he stands for.
So you don't believe in free will?
I
See,
do,
but the
but
free
do you
will-
understand what I mean? Like, that's why they had the whole idea that you, of like, your body's a temple and everything.
Yeah.
And that, why getting tattoos and everything is anti-Christian and bad is because you're staining his creation. So how do I explain it? To think that you have a right to take away your life is you saying you have a right to destroy something that's God's, but technically you really don't. That's why you're not supposed to kill either.
Yeah, I think it's just the way, it's how you interpret it, because I do see where you're coming from. But when you say you're God's creation and like your body is a temple, that is displaying ownership in which you are not the owner. But I mean, which if you're religious, you're not.
Yeah.
But the way,
and that's why suicide is such a supposedly
a
big sin.
Yeah.
In Christianity, especially Catholicism too.
But it's like, what confuses me is if you have free will, how are you not the title holder?
See, but when you think in free will terms, like, why are you have free will, so you could very well kill both me and Dylan right now.
Yeah.
And we probably would even let you do it because, like, obviously we're not going to want to kill you, so, like, you could do it. You have free will. You full well can do it.
Like, don't
You're
put
not-
out a fucking pocket pistol right now. Blah, blah.
Yeah, and
Can't-
then
can't hold it
in
against-
his head, he could even justify it and be like, "Well, they're going to a better place. Like I saved them."
Yeah.
And that's something that's really trippy that a lot of movies like to play into, especially with the villain. They're like, "I am saving them from the evil of this world,"
Oh, yeah.
which is, it in its own thought, is
That's
trippy.
why it's all. That's
But that's where free will that's why free will has to be contained, and I think that's the reason God gave people free will, is for the fact of you have the power to do whatever you want. So, and a further explanation, I was having a conversation with me, Ross, and Perrin one night, and we were laying down in this room on the floor, and I was like, we literally could do anything right now. If we wanted to blow the wall right here, us three could physically take out that entire wall.
oh,
We could even
blow
probably
that
do it
wall.
keeping the ceiling up if we wanted to. We could hop on a plane, we could steal a plane, and I could fly us to friggin' Jamaica. And I would almost bet that we'd get there. You know what I mean? Like, you physically could do anything. There's so much that is holding you from not blowing out that wall. I need to live, so like,
It's called the
I
conscience.
need a
right
house,
and wrong.
and I need that wall to have a house. You know what I mean? I'd like to keep this room intact. I don't want to steal a plane because, like, I'm definitely not a thief, and I don't want to take something from somebody else. Like, there's a lot of containments in free will, and I think that's the purpose for it, is to follow, and that's why I think that you're given Holy Spirit, is to follow in what you're supposed to do, and to freely follow in what you're supposed to do because you want to, because that's the side
Yeah.
of free will that you choose to do.
Oh, I see where I'm wrong. Okay, so it clicked. So God has given us the free will to do whatever we want. He has bestowed that right. Can I use that? Can I use the word
Yes.
right? Okay. So he's bestowed us with the right. That wasn't sarcastic either. He's bestowed us with the right to do whatever we want. But if you want to get into his temple and get into heaven, you have to fall within his construct.
Yeah.
There is right and wrong. It just comes down
Right.
to there is right and wrong. That's
Okay.
why you have a conscience, and the
And
conscience
then-
is supposedly the Holy Spirit.
I mean, that
So
makes
then-
sense.
The Holy Spirit is supposed to help you with
But-
the more detailed versions,
Okay.
and that's why you can take. That's why I think, like we had already talked about, reading the Bible is a basis. Then the Holy Spirit inside of you helps you translate it, and that's why I think that the Bible is such a key component in living your life. Not necessarily saying that the Bible is everything. The Bible is the starting point.
Yeah.
That then you within yourself, and you with your spirit and walking with God, can then decipher and find the true points that dictate in your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I think the point that I just somehow figured out was the point I was trying to drive home, was people get lost in interpretations of the Bible and the Word and stuff. So it's like, so to say that getting a tattoo is not going to get you into heaven, which there are Christians and Catholics
full well believe
that
that.
full well believe that.
That's crazy.
It's a very loose interpretation of the law. And I think people get caught up in that by so much to think that, and this is my issue with religion, is they think that they're so much better because they fall within the construct more. But stop me if I'm wrong, the only things you need to get into heaven are to believe that there is a God, believe that he died for you, and believe he was on this earth. Is there more? I think there's more, right?
There's more.
That's
well,
about it. In all
no,
reality,
because you can believe
if you're
that.
thinking
No,
about
watch.
raw, if you're thinking about raw, uncut Christianity is
The rest of it
belief
gets you
in Christ.
jewels on your crown or whatever.
Yeah. If all of that.
I would say also to recognize that you've done wrong and accepting that you did wrong
For
and saying
sure.
that you've done, because
For
you
sure.
could believe.
You're right.
That's where
You're right.
a lot of extremists and everything are bad, because they could be like, oh, I believe in God, I believe in Christ and everything. So because I believe in that, I get to
do
kill all
whatever
these
I
people. I
want.
can
Yeah.
do this who don't believe in him
But
without saying that they did wrong.
But see, the thing is you can't just say it. You can't just say I believed it, because if you believed there was a God and you believed what came out of his mouth needed to be a part that you lived in, you wouldn't go killing people. So if you act against it blatantly, it doesn't matter what you say. But that's what I think. That's what bothers me about the whole your action. Like, you can never fall out of, like, getting, like, you can't, like, because for me, I was saved, right? Saved when I was, like, what, like 12, 13.
Yeah.
I believed in it. And in the religion that I was saved in, you can never fall out of it. And that is what I disagree with.
Well, even in the religion that you're talking about, and I was raised in the same religion.
Exactly.
There is there's the ultimate sin, right, that you can do, and the Bible says it in a really weird way that almost makes it seem like it could be suicide or killing another person, could be like in the middle in that thing. But I honestly think that it's denouncing God altogether, right? That's basically the ultimate sin, is to denounce God and your faith.
What you're trying to say is to know that God is real, but then still blatantly say
disregard
not fucking,
all of it.
Yeah.
That's where that thing gets all weird
Yeah.
and stuff. But that kind of rolls into the other point. Like,
That scares the shit out of me.
yeah,
Yeah.
I flirt with that line.
yeah.
But I don't mean
Well,
to.
that's
Yeah, and I don't mean to.
humans
either,
are
but
flawed.
people-
It's gonna happen.
I just want to question things. I don't want to do the ultimate sin.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
There's a lot too, because question it. I personally don't believe question it is like bad, but then acting on it and then not, in a sense, repenting. And I'm not trying to say that as like a preacher saying they should repent, but like,
if you don't feel for what you've done,
yeah,
and try to seek some type of remedy from it, you're probably going in the wrong direction, because that leads to more and more and more, and then you get less of the fear of finding that remedy. So that was kind of what I was talking about with the relationships deal, and like, God is just another relationship, but
Yeah.
you have to look at it like, I like to think of it as like man to man, like physical to physical, like my relationship with my friends, right? So obviously, being in a long-term engaged in relationship, I've learned to see a lot of the stuff that I never saw as a kid. Because like growing up, you always care about hanging out with your friends. You care about your friends, but like you said, it's ultimately like me, right? So on the other side of that, when you're looking at a relationship with somebody, you can see how you influence somebody by what they do. I can tell you all day long that I'm a really good friend to Dylan. But you would never know that I was actually a good friend to Dylan until you've looked at what Dylan did or does and see where I have affected Dylan and where I play a role in Dylan's life. Like if I were to tell you, dude, I am Dylan's ultimate best friend, you would never, like, you could take that, yeah. Okay, you're Dylan's ultimate best friend. Then you go hang out with Dylan and Dylan's like, dude, Kyron's a piece of shit. He straight up did this, he did this, he did this. Then you'd be like, okay. So Kyron thinks that he's a really good friend to you, but he's obviously not. Like, that's kind of on the fruits of your labor type deal.
Yeah.
Like, if
Reap
I'm
what you sow.
if I'm consciously making efforts in my relationship, you would see it, because the people that I tell you I have these close relationships with bear it, basically.
Yeah.
You would physically see the actions from it, which goes into playing with why words are so powerful. Like, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words play a huge role in relationships, because you can
Words are
find
powerful,
something,
man.
and here's another thing: you could find something funny. I could tell Dylan a joke right now. He would die laughing, and I'd die laughing with him. But like somebody else viewing the joke would be like, "That's fucked up. Like, you should never make fun of Dylan like that. But, like, we both laugh because we understand a hell of a lot more of the scenario than
Or like when I tell a joke on the first episode we did and you just sat there.
Yeah.
That's just because you're not funny.
I'm sorry you think
But I told a couple of the same jokes on the next one and you laughed. So, I mean,
yeah, because like, we're on camera.
checkmate.
Sorry, I'm a little nervous, okay? It's a little bit different when you talk in front of a camera. But
No, but I do say what you're saying. And that's why, like, when it comes to, like, censoring stuff, like, on this thing, like, I don't want to censor anything, but, like, also I kind of want to make sure what we're saying reflects
Our values.
what we want it to say. So, like, I'll edit something out and I'm like, nah, but that's not, like, the point I wanted. But it's, like, also, we say a lot of stuff off camera, and we say a lot of stuff, like, around each other, like, all the, like, we're around each other a lot. So it's, like, I want to make sure that this reflects that.
What? Yeah,
Because
you can't build a whole
as much as you
personality.
think you say shit that you mean all the time, you don't.
No way.
Because
There's
you're
no
testing
way.
waters all the time.
There's definitely something to be said about hearing what somebody says and knowing them personally. And I told this to Leah. Like,
That's why politicians are impossible.
Like, so one of the issues that I've had is my sister claims that she knows me better than my wife. And
I doubt that.
that is physically impossible for her to be able to do
She's
that.
probably going off of the time frame that she's had with you compared
yes,
to Leah. But it's like
because
the quality
you
of
can-
time is different.
Yeah, and the difference is Leah watches my every single action on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
Leah's datum is a solid thing. You know what I mean? So whenever I say something that's out here, Leah could probably, if she wanted to analyze it really in depth, could trace down how I came to saying this.
Yeah.
And that would ultimately, if it was something that was just way out there, she could, that's essentially the rationalization from it. She's like, from her datum, that point is way out here. So that doesn't make sense. That can't
It's
actually
an outlier
be
and
there.
it like clicks.
And and for the most part, when you're developing a relationship with somebody, the starting of it is super crucial because that's when they're building that center point. They're building your personality in their head. And it's crucial, it's even more crucial to hold true to that center point, because once you start straying out, then that point just gets bigger and broader and broader and broader until it gets all the way out here, and then they're like, I actually have no idea who the fuck you are. And that's when it fails.
It also comes down to that thing that I heard a couple months ago. It was like, everybody has a different idea of you. Or like version of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's probably a
And
lot
that
of
blew
people
my
out
mind.
there
I
that
was
don't
like,
like
oh
you.
shit.
Yeah. Because they've only seen, you've only showed portions of you, which is my
Like if you
biggest-
just party with someone,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's
they're gonna like. I've had people come up to me and be like, "Yeah, you're probably the kind of guy that likes that," and I'm like, "No, I stand against that like completely."
Yeah.
Jesus, Waylon, come on,
Waylon, calm down.
calm down, take a chill pill, bro.
Not even close. That's
Yeah,
not
I know. It's like they see something. Yeah,
Yeah.
they see something. You're just like, "What?"
Yeah.
Not even
It
close,
is.
man.
pretty wild.
That's what scares me about getting drunk.
Yeah.
Like, some people, when I meet when I'm drunk, I am not myself. And as much as people like to say you're your true self when you're drunk, that is so unbelievably true.
It's
like,
not true, but it's not far off. It just you expose yourself. You expose different parts of yourself more.
But you also
and loosely.
flatter yourself in indulging in some of the parts that you wouldn't necessarily go to.
Yeah. But I will say, like, when I ran for ASNMSU president, I fear that a lot of people generalized my views.
Yeah.
Because if me and my opponent sat down with, like, each voter, I guarantee you I'd win. Like, I'm not saying I'd get 100%, but, like, I guarantee you I'd win.
For sure.
Because it's like, I don't really, like, I have really differed views than a lot of people, but it's like, because I value, like, whether, like, first off, is it going to make you happy? Second off, is it going to make you a efficient member of society? And then, like, third off, is it gonna affect people in a negative way? So it's like, and I take things case by case. So it's like,
Yeah.
because like, if you looked at me and you looked at my social media and you saw who you think I was, you'd think I was the kind of guy that was like that. I'm trying not to use abortion because we already used abortion, but it's like I'm not against it because like it's a case by case kind of thing. It's like
For
it's
sure.
too most things are too sensitive because if you try to generalize anything in life, it's not gonna work.
That's like one of the biggest things I hate to hear people say is it's black and white. There is no gray area.
And that's why I don't really like the idea of politicians because their job is to generalize.
Yeah, and a majority of decisions is a gray area because if you look at the entire population on a case by case basis, like if you were to say, and I had kind of made this mistake, I think everybody should do this.
Hold on, let's just finish this one thought, and then we'll call it for good.
If
'Cause it's already
everybody
9:30.
everybody should do this. No, not everybody should do this. Like you could say, wake up in the morning and do 10 push-ups. Everybody should wake up in the morning and do 10 push-ups. Sounds like a really good thing to say, right? And if everybody did it, like they'd probably be better for it. But what about those people who are like literally hooked up to IVs and life
Yeah.
support?
Or quadruple amputees.
If they got up and did 10 push-ups, they would die. Like
it would kill them.
it would physically kill them. So to say everyone should is not a good statement, and it's not something that should be taken 100%. It should be something that it's taken with a grain of salt to realize that when I say everybody, I mean everybody who can,
Right.
who is physically capable or has the mental capacity to allow them.
You should take that statement and be like, every day I should wake up with the attitude that I need to better myself.
For sure.
Not actually wake up and do 10 push-ups and I'm going to make $1 million.
Yeah.